Good morning, Dominicans. I'm so honored to be here to speak before you, and I am so thankful of the opportunity. Feeling nostalgic kasi I was once part of this team, and I'm so grateful and privileged to be with the bright, hardworking, and very supportive colleagues here in SDCA. So nakatutuwa rin naman na makitang muli ang aking mga fellow or colleagues or Team SDCA pagkatapos ng mahaba-habang panahon. So maraming salamat sa invitation. Now let me start the lecture on RRL with the following goals or objectives. So kailangan pagkatapos ng training o ng mga webinars, meron mga set goals and objectives. Inaasahan nito mula sa mga participants, no? Kasi sayang naman ang opportunity kapag tayo ay magiging tagapakinig lamang. Ang tunay na sukatan ng pagkatuto mula sa lektura for how many days, no? Ay ang application ng lahat ng mga insights and learnings na natutunan. At the same time, itong kasing training na ito ang siya magsisilbing gabay or guidance ninyo, guidelines para kayo ay makapag-conceptualize ng research paper to be submitted sometime soon as part of the program requirements. Kaya makinig na mabuti at mag-take down notes. Kung meron mga questions, pwede namang magtanong. Kung kukulangin sa oras at hindi agad masagot ang tanong, meron namang mga advisors. Otherwise, since ako ay taga-Bacoor lang naman at napakalapit, I am just a PMO, private message away. Messenger lang, click lang ang messenger, ask the questions lang na related sa ating topic, then I would gladly assist you. Okay? Kasi kami mga invited resource speakers are not basically resource speakers lang. We can also be, we are now actually partners, no? Support group system to help you out, students, no? Na makapag-workout ng very meaningful scientific paper or research paper. Kapag nakagawa kayo niyan today, nakapag-start na kayo after ng sessions, okay? Hindi na kayo mahihirapang gumawa pa ng mga researches for continuous improvement na tinatawag. Eventually, pagkatapos ninyo ang senior high school program at kayo ay magpapatuloy sa kolehiyo or sa sa graduate studies na tinatawag. Okay? Make this an opportunity for you to learn so much para you could give so much din doon sa mga susunod na mga researchers. Alright? So at the end of the session, participants should be able to understand the context or meaning of RRL. Kasi kapag hindi maliwanag ang konteksto ng RRL sa inyo, you wouldn't be able to appreciate the value of RRL in any research endeavor or field of studies. So when you get a better notion, grasp or understanding of the context or the meaning of review of related literature, then you would get to appreciate its value or significance in your research, any research endeavor in any field of study, all right, or program that you are enrolled. And then eventually apply the insights gained in crafting or designing of potential research studies. Kagaya ng sabi ko, susukatin ang pagkatuto sa lahat ng lektura kapag kayo ay nakapag-conceptualize na ng inyong paper. So sa umpisa naman, mahirap talaga at hindi agad madadigest ang konsepto ng lahat ng naipe-present sa unang pagkakataon na maririnig. Pero kapag ikaw ay may focus, keen observer, at gustong-gusto mong matuto, you take down notes. Minsan kasi sa sharing lumalabas yung mas importante at significant na mga terms na pwedeng magamit o kaya naman ay significant context na po pwedeng gamitin in writing a very good research paper. Do you have questions with that? Mamaya naman din natin sasagutin eventually. Now, let me ask you, um, you know for a fact that this lecture should be eventually utilized in crafting your own research studies, don't you? Right, students? Okay, that's good. Very good, very good. All right? That's why you need to listen well and take down notes, because when you have a good grasp or good mindset and notion and understanding on RRL or if, kahit nasa iba pang topic na nauna nang i-present actually, you will have greater options, so many choices, very good choices, nakakapag-build kayo ng or conceptualize ng uh, great paradigms for brainstorming activities, discussion points, no? Bright ideas with your research team or support group, especially sa inyong research or thesis advisor. So dapat ngayon pa lang ang support groups natin or ang concept ninyo ng potential research ninyo naka-align na sa track or strand or field of study kung saan ka naka-enroll na program. To be able to determine what should be studied under your program, ano yung mga dapat nating ma-improve or nakikita mo na needing improvement, or what is it that you need to create or innovate that would help eventually your fellow students in the fields under study, yung program or track or strand na nakikitaan ninyo ng potential development at perhaps resolutions, makapag-contribute ka sa resolution. Okay? Para ma-fill in yung gaps, may isaayos kung ano ang kailangan ng intervention. Okay, that is one purpose. Alright? And then, ngayon pa lang, aside from the concept, dapat naka-align na rin as much as possible kung ano ang mission statement ng school ninyo at mission statement institutionally or per department or per program as mandated din, no? By DepEd or CHED. Pwedeng framework na kasi yan ng inyong potential field studies. Okay? Ang support group system din, mas mainam if this would be coming from the same discipline or field na as much as possible. Why? Para ma-sustain o ma-rebuild o mas ma-improve yung mga gaps na nakikita, ano yung mga assessed needs na nakita din in the field of or area of study. Kapag ka rin kasi same discipline, you speak of one common language, meaning mas madaling magkaintindihan ang research proponents, yung advisor, yung panel ng research para mas madaling maipresent ang paper doon sa technicalities na hinihingi ng field under study. Yun ay as much as possible lang suggestion, mas maganda yon. Kasi minsan hindi talaga naiiwasan kasi baka on a different perspective, may nakikita ding significance yung panelist kung bakit iba-iba ang field, no? Pero mas maganda at mas makakatulong kapag same field or discipline of study na kasi you speak of common language. All right. What else? When you get to conceptualize or write a paper, a research paper, it is always good to ask help or questions, no? To improve pa your paper. Napaka-importante kasi na meron tayong collaboration, consortium with our advisors, program managers. Yan. Kasi mas malinaw at mas natutulungan ka na makakita ng liwanag doon sa dinanais mong pag-aralan kasi ang goal mo naman at layunin ay para ma-fill in yung needs na nakita mo o yung gaps na nakita mo. Ayan. Now, let us have at least a hinge, no, or gist muna in understanding what literature is for the sake of this discussion on the context of research. All right? For all we know, literature is one great field, broad siya, very deep ang pagtanggap ng iba, and may have a different context in language studies and other related fields. Now, again, for the sake of discussion and the context of research, review of related literature, that is, let us define literature as written works collectively, um, which may exhibit creative imagination and artistic skills. It is written in a certain period and language and study. All right. Maybe I said maybe for English majors, because they know this so well, when asked about literature, perhaps they may have other notions about this, but then again, please hold your horses, English majors, okay? For the sake of research, to have a good say for clear direction, for a very objective presentation of the research under study, for validity, for best discussions, a conceptual research literature is significantly needed. Moving on, according to Garcia, there are actually two types of literature. The first one is conceptual literature, which refers to ideas, concepts, theories that is propounded or explained by the experts as contained in books, periodicals, and other standard references. Okay? And these concepts or theories are really helpful, no, in choosing, defining a sound theoretical framework that would help you a lot in the discussion processes as you go through your research paper. Yan ang conceptual literature. Then the other one is actually research literature. This one naman is consisting of the results of the empirical studies. Ayan. Makikita mo na dito ang validation results, no, of the empirical studies conducted by individuals and professionals on a given research problem or topic. So this may help in maybe proving, if not negating, no, kung ano man ang questions that is needed to be answered as part of your research inquiry. All right? Now, as researchers, you need to have a detailed review of existing literature, no? Which is actually related to your topic. For example, you're under Hume's, you're under STEM or GAS, ABM program, kailangan ang existing literature ay very much related sa iyong topic. Otherwise, magsasayang lang tayo ng oras at panahon. Okay? You have to thoroughly read and review existing literature related to the topic of your research work. You read it thoroughly, and then you write down notes, and then you reread it again as much as possible to see whether or not it is useful in explaining your topic or research. Okay? When you get to read it over and over for some time, that is what I actually meant, you may be able to discern that such literature is really helpful to you as a researcher in finding gaps or conflicts, and then it would stir up your creative minds and come up with the resolutions or logical explanations, no? Saan? Doon sa mga points of discussion of the research under study. Is that clear? All right. So, kinakailangan kung ano ang gusto mong ma-validate, o kaya naman anong gusto, kung hindi man ma-improve, bakit hindi ganun ang naging resulta, what may be the best explanation to that? Kasi hindi tayo po pwedeng basta-basta lang magbibigay ng ating personal conclusions or discussion, kailangan lagi tayong merong legal basis or sound basis to say that such research is really producing a certain results. Kailangan database din siya and related, no? Alright. Huwag na natin pag-aksaya ng oras at panahon o enerhiya ang literature na walang maitutulong o kagnay sa ating field of study kasi definitely maguguluhan lang tayo. Okay? So kung ready ka na, let us see the steps on how to undertake a review of related literature. Okay? Kung paano na natin gagawin ang pagre-review ng related literature. So, unang-una natin gagawin, ma-identify natin what would be the relevant literature sa ang mga sources, various sources such as printed books, journals, or online and offline resources. So, we have to save all applicable resources and then mention it in your paper. We have to cite the rightful owners of those resources na ginamit natin para makapag-create tayo, if not makapagsulat ng paper na maganda, evidence-based, very logical, at very much scientific. Kasi makakasuhan tayo dyan kapag hindi natin sila nagkakaroon tayo ng copyright issues na tinatawag. And then we have to make notes and identify key concepts to be able to describe or discuss what is being studied. All right. Now, to review, to recap, we have to take down notes on the literature review process. So, first one you have to do when you do the RRL is you collect articles or resources, and then you read them, after which you take down notes, then summarize. It's the summarized state of each research. Hindi po pwedeng copy-paste lang. Otherwise, magkakaroon tayo ng copyright issues. Alright? After summarizing, kung kailangan ng paraphrasing, very good. Kung kailangan mo mag-set ng iyong opinion, dapat lamang na maayos ang flow, ang content, at higit sa lahat malinaw ang gusto mong ipaliwanag o i-discuss when you summarize or paraphrase the state of the research based from the collected resources or articles as part of the RRL. Then you need to identify gaps. When we talk about gaps sa research, ang tinutukoy dito, pag sinabi natin gaps, these are the topics or area for which missing or inadequate information sets limits, or limits the ability of reviewers to reach for a conclusion on a certain or given questions. Alright? Yun ang ibig sabihin ng mga gaps, mga missing information. Kaya, nakukulangan, o kaya naman something is missing to justify yung theory mo perhaps, or yung nakuha mong framework, or kung paano i-discuss or i-present ng mas malinaw at mas maayos ang research na iyong kinokonduct. Pag sinabi naman nating relations sa konteksto ng research, it has something to do with the connectedness of concepts and ideas under study. Ano naman yung tinatawag nating variances? Ano naman yung tinutukoy natin dito pag sinabi nating variances? So this has something to do with the different or differences or inconsistencies na po pwede mag-lead sa gap, no? Nagse-set ng limits na rin or something missing na information to be able to discuss or define or explain logically or scientifically the topic you are actually presenting or the research that you are doing. And then, what would be the next step? All right, that's why through the review of related literature, a researcher may determine the framework to identify gaps, relations, variances, even probable resolutions, no? Probable resolutions to identify concerns or problems or inquiry na nakastate sa iyong research paper. Now, here are more notes to ponder on when you do your review of related literature as researches. For first, review of related literature as an introduction of a research, you have to use previous literature to introduce your research. And then you need to discuss subject-specific literature after the general introduction. And then you need to identify knowledge or gaps based on previous literature. And then when you do the discussion or RRL as part of the discussion, use previous studies to explain or reinforce your findings. Only include references directly relevant to the topic or target audience. Otherwise, scrape it off or delete it. Again, sayang ang energy kasi kung hindi naman siya significantly related doon sa discussion ng research mo. You do not cite review articles unless that is essential or very much related to the field that you are studying. I hope that one is clear. All right. Additional info. There are types of literature reviews designed to provide overview of resources. Sabi ni Faltado et al. Literature reviews are designed to provide overview of resources the researcher has explored while researching a particular topic and to demonstrate to the readers how the research fits within a large field of study. Meron daw tayong basic types of literature reviews. The first one, argumentative review, integrative review, historical review, methodological review, systematic review, and theoretical review of literature. Now, the question would be, lahat po ba ito ay gagamitin sa research? Why not? So long as all of these are essential and related. Basta ko ang nakita mong resources ay nagpapakita ng argumentative review kasi meron ka mga inquiries kung pwedeng mag-explain siya ng mga gaps, variances, and all. Tapos, yung integrative review para ma-integrate mo rin na sa mga field of studies sa ganito, ipinapakita na ganito. Ayan. And then historical, from the past to the present or current, what is happening? And then what is the impact of that study that you are doing? And then ano nga yung methodologies or mga models ang ginamit to justify the discussion? If not the result, at least a discussion. And then, anong mga sound frameworks ang gagamitin mo, no? For a very good presentation of the discussion. At saka, analysis ng mga puntos. Ayan. Doon sa research na iyong ginagawa. So, gagamitin yan lahat so long as you get to see that everything is essential and related to your field of study. All right. Additional information, according to Garcia, there are different ways on presenting literature. Actually, tatlo ang sinabi ni Garcia dito. So meron tayong tinatawag na chronological approach wherein ang template is the introduction, and then susunod ang recent literature and studies, and then least recent literature and studies, and then synthesis of the review, ang kanyang format. The other one is thematic or variable or factor approach. Ang format naman, may introduction, literature and studies on variable 1, literature and studies on variable 2, and then synthesis of the review. Ang pinakahuli naman, country of origin approach, introduction, foreign literature and studies, local literature and studies, and then synthesis of the review. So ngayon, ano po ba ang magandang gamiting template or presentation or approach? Okay? Doon ngayon papasok ang ating advisor, si college dean or program director, o ano ang sasabihin ng mga panelists. Kasi sila ang may say kung ano ang suggested na approach na gagamitin in presenting your research paper. Ganyan kahalaga ang research team. Okay? Kasi kahit na naandyan ang tatlong approaches na yan, okay, tatanungin natin ngayon sa school level ninyo kung ano ang way of presenting ng inyong magiging research paper. At least you have 3 probable options. Okay? Or depende actually yan sa field of study. No? Kung anong program or track or strand ang iyong enroll. Tapos, ano ngayon ang nakikitang mga needs. Yan. Na po pwede mong gamitin as variable para ma-address ang mga gaps, ang mga needs, at ang mga improvements na kinakailangan mong gagawin. Alright? Now, moving on, there are actually essential elements of literature review. Ito ang content o nilalaman generally ng inyong chapter 2, review of related literature. Okay? You need to understand that the overview of the subject or topic of theories to be considered should be there. The works, the division of works that supports a particular position against and those that offers other ideas should be there. Explanation of the comparison of the gathered literature. And of course, kasama din ang conclusion and best arguments. Na ano pong format ang gagamitin namin pagdating sa citation ng aming resources na ginagamit? Meron kasing format of literature review na ginagamit. Pwedeng APA format, yung citation na tinutukoy natin ha. Pwede namang M&A o kaya naman ang Chicago format. Bago po ba sa pandinig natin? So, tingnan natin. The essay format researchers should adhere to will be the citation style preferred by your teacher or advisor o kaya naman program director. That's why, kagaya na nasabi ko kanina, you need to seek clarification from those persons, no? To be able to establish desired literature review format. So, ang follow-up question yan na isusunod na tanong ng mga bata, gaano po ba karami ang resources na i-review and what kind of sources should they be? Ito ba ay published materials, journals, articles, or websites? O how many sources ang kinakailangan? Actually, kasi kapag undergraduate studies kasi, hindi naman masyadong madami ang hinihingi. Minsan, 5 to 10. Pero kung kaya ng 15 to 20, mas maganda. Okay? Kasi undergrad talaga is 5 to 10, 5 to 20. Pag graduate studies kasi is 20 to 40. If you could have more from recent, most recent, mas okay. O, yung question ulit, what format should you use to cite the sources? Tanungin ulit ang program director o si advisor. Kasi pwedeng APA, Depende sa field of study. Pwedeng MLA, pwede rin namang Chicago format. Pero sa school ninyo, baka institutionally, merong sariling format na fina-follow. So you need to ask the right person. Specifically, yung inyong magiging advisor at saka yung program director. How long should the review be? 15 pages po ba? 10 pages? 20 pages? Ayan. 15 pages pag undergrad, pwede na yan. Pero depende sa requirement ng program ninyo. So again, dyan papasok ang ating mga advisors at ang program director. How long should the review be? Should the review consist of the summary, synthesis, or personal critique? Yes. Should your review include subheadings or background information for your resources? O depende doon sa hinihingi ng studies ninyo at sa format na gagamitin. Basically kasi, ang bawat format na ipe-present natin, pwedeng gamitin na naaayon sa program na in-enroll ninyo. Okay, expound pa natin ng konti para mas malinaw sa atin. Meron tayong APA format na tinatawag. So yung format na ito ay coming from American Psychological Association. So usually, the format and style used for writing academic documents such as scholarly books and journals or articles are commonly within the field of behavioral and social sciences for citing sources. So ano-ano mga program, senior high school program ang under behavioral and social sciences. Alright, Humes, pwede dito. Ang STEM ba, pwede dito. Okay? Meron tayong standard format dyan. In general, APA format states that text should be typed double spaced with sufficient margins on each side of the page, at least one each or more. May wide margins, no? For professors to make notes and leave feedback while reading the paper. And preferred font is Times New Roman in size 12. So after ng discussion, mamaya ipe-present ko sa inyo kung ano ang itsura ng APA format, MLA format, at saka Chicago style or format. Ito yung general lang. So for behavioral and social sciences, citing sources, pwede APA format. So kung applicable sa inyo to, tanungin natin ang advisor or program director ninyo kung APA format ang gagamitin or kung APA format para sa lahat ng program for senior high school. Okay, ano naman ang MLA? Kaya siya MLA, acronym din siya katulad ng APA. Modern language format, meaning it concentrates on popularizing teaching and studying of modern languages such as English. All right? These are predominantly used in the fields of humanities, literature, history, philosophy, and English studies. That's why it's modern language format. Papakita ko rin sa inyo mamaya kung anong itsura niyan. Ano? At don't worry kasi isasend ko sa inyo kung ano ang itsura niyan para mas maintindihan ninyo maya-maya. Tapos pag hindi pa rin na masyado malinaw, isasend ko yung link sa inyong lahat sa chat box mamaya, pati sa research coordinator ninyo kung kailangan pa niya at nang may send sa inyo at mapag-aralan ninyong mabuti kung anong ibig sabihin ng MLA o anong itsura ng MLA versus Chicago style or APA format na tinatawag. Alright. In general, ang formatting guidelines ng MLA naman, merong 1 inch all around. Text is recommended to be typed using a common font such as Times New Roman. Font size strictly 12. Spacing implies 2 rules, double space yan, text and single space separation marks. The indentation rule requires half-inch spacing from the left margin and hint to use a tablet to improve the time management. Merong pagination, which means placing numbers of the pages in the upper right corner of created header. Usually, numbers are set from the first page successively to the last and Arabic numerals are used. If having endnotes in the text, they are to be written down separately from both the main body text and works cited page. The last rule, usually, opening 1, text should be typed on a computer and printed according to standards 8.5 by 11 white paper. Mamaya ipapakita ko sa inyo yan para maintindihan nyo kung anong itsura ng MLA versus APA versus Chicago. Ito naman sa Chicago format, alright, this guy describes the humanities style preferred by many in the field of arts, literature, and history. Yan naman ang para sa Chicago format. So generally, ang formatting style niyan, 1-inch margin sa side, sa top at saka sa bottom. Times New Roman then 12 ang font size, double space, except for block quotes, footnotes, and bibliography entries. Merong 1/2 inch indent for paragraph beginnings, block quotes, and hanging indents. Left align text so that it has a rugged right edge. Number pages in the right top or the top right corner of the header beginning with the first page of text. Remove extra spacing between gaps. Kasi ang bawat spacing na yan may proposition katulad dun sa APA format. Kaya ganun ang spacing kasi may mga comments doon na ibibigay si professor or yung advisor, doon niya ilalagay yun. Alright? Posible po bang gamitin ang lahat? Ay depende sa field of study nga at kung ano ang isasagot sa inyo ng inyong program director, hinihingi niyang format o kung ang school na ninyo ay meron ng suggested na format na gagamitin in citing the references. Okay? So, tatanungin ang program director or ang advisor. Kung ang panelist, ano ang kanilang sinasuggest or ano ang meron sa school na ine-expect nila maging output nyo in certain or specific format. So, diniscuss lang natin ang 3 types ng formatting para at least aware kayo na meron palang ganong klase ng mga format na ginagamit for any specific field or every specific field of study or research na inyong gagawin. Para saan? Para mas magaan ang inyong pag-develop, pag-craft ng inyong chapter 2 or chapters 1 to 3 or the whole thesis or research output na isasubmit. Alright. Now, basta lamang, huwag nating kakalimutan na kapag nag-present tayo ng review of related literature, meron lang 3 bahagi na dapat na nakikita at hindi pwedeng mawawala siya. So number 1 is the introduction. Anong nilalaman ng introduction sa RRL? So there's the general problem stated, ano mga variables that should be defined. Alright? So from the topic, naandun na kung ano ang mga variables na gusto mong aralin. Okay? Tapos, there is a general problem statement sa introduction. Next, every important data should be highlighted to effectively discuss the problem or the variables such as nandun ang theory, nandun ang methodology, evidences, conclusions, or even gaps to explain clearly and to discuss clearly ang significance ng iyong study based do sa title na iyong ipinopropose. Approved, yan dapat, approved title. Hindi rin po pwedeng salasalabat ang variables tapos sa simula pa lang ino-object na niya ang general problem statement mo. Hindi na kailangan ipagpatuloy ang research study kasi what for? 'Di ba? Kailangan sa pag-present ng iyong paper, chapter 2, malinaw doon na isinasaad kung ano ang mga set expectations, scopes, limitations or restrictions under study, population, no? Sino yung target clients or participants for that specific study. Alright? Tapos ano ang theoretical framework na gagamitin mo, and so on. The criteria in selecting the literature should be considered to assess which resources are pertinent and should be included and which are irrelevant and should be removed. So in other words, huwag ka na lang maglagay dyan ng mga literature or studies na hindi naman related. Sayang lang. So again, sa introduction, nandun ang general problem plus the variables and then other important data that would highlight the discussion of the problems and variables, especially so in theory, methodology, evidence, conclusion, or even gaps. Next, the body of chapter 2 or RRL. It should have the chosen approaches, conclusion of authors, nandun ang specific objective, and the likes should be included. Studies and literature should be summarized. Primary consideration should be given to the result of the studies, which includes the variables And in doing so, the following should be considered: the provenance, the objectivity, the persuasiveness, and the value of your study. All right. The last part would be the conclusion. So you have the introduction, the body, and then the conclusion, which would state the major contributions of the studies or articles, which is actually summarized na. Hindi na pwedeng copy-paste yan kasi magkakaroon tayo ng copyright issues. And then proper citation of the rightful owners or proponent or authors, no? Of the, perhaps the theory, or kung sino rin nag-conduct ng recent studies na inire-relate mo lang sa ang usefulness nito doon sa study na kinoconduct mo or gusto mong gawin. There should be the presence of current developments and new informations. All right, that is actually evaluated. The review should be concluded by relating the gathered data to the central theme or the problem. Okay? Para maging maganda ang presentation ng inyong chapter 2, ilagay natin sa ating isip at tatandaan kung ano ang functions ng RRL. Dapat naintindihan mo na ang RRL mo should be providing you the concepts or theoretical framework na ipepresent mo as part of the introduction. It should provide you with the information about past researches related to the field that you intend to study. All right? What else? RRL should be giving you, as researcher, the confidence and authority on the subject as far as the mastery of information is concerned. Information should also be including research methods to be used, population and sampling, instruments to be used in gathering data, statistical computation, and previous research. And last but not the least, ang function nito is to provide you findings that may relate to researchers' findings and conclusions na gagamitin mo rin para synthesize ka rin ng most probable recommendations, magagandang recommendations and conclusion, no, sa last part or chapter ng iyong research paper. So to sum up everything, according to Zulueta and Costales, dapat ang research paper mo should be written in a formal style in the third person, not in the first person. Iwasan natin ang highly descriptive writing style that is not appropriate for scholarly research. It should be written in active voice for direct impact and easy understanding. And please do not use jargon, lalo na yung mga technical terms, if not the technical terms, mga words na hindi naman understandable, no? Sa babasa at mag-utilize din ng research na kinoconduct mo. Language should be neutral gender. You have to make clear conclusions or clarifications or contradictions as excuse me, is needed. Use short sentences, not elongated and run-on expressions. Excuse me. And then, check on grammar and proofread the work. If somebody could do that for you, you may magka-copyright or copy-read, that is, mas maganda, para mas maganda ang presentation ng paper. Avoid, syempre, never plagiarize. That's why you need to cite kung sino ang rightful owner ng theories na ginamit mo and all. And then pay attention to the structure and form of published articles, which are good examples of how literature can be actually written. So, anong mga materials ang dapat mong gamitin kapag kukuha ka o pipili ka na ng mga resources? So, dapat as much as possible, 10 years back, kung mas recent pa dyan, mas okay. Dapat din objective and unbiased as possible. Yung kaninang paulit-ulit natin sinasabi should be relevant to the study, and there should be coherence principle that must be observed in writing literature review. All right. So do not copy-paste. paraphrase is essential. You have to consider the functions of the review of related literature or the sources na gagamitin to be able to have a very good discussion points and to explain properly yung process na gagawin mo or steps na ginagawa mo and how to conduct the research itself. Okay? When you understand the purpose of RRL and you know very well what you study, kasama ng scopes, the limitations, gaps, how to deliver and discuss your research, believe me, you are in the right track. Okay. So I guess that's it. Good luck with the paper presentations. Aja Dominicans. Congratulations in advance.